Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at an elite limited team versus a cap 240 rare team, solely for return on investment on Sorare. If you do play Sorare just for fun, that's absolutely fine. Maybe ignore this video. Feel free to stay and watch the whole video. That's absolutely fine as well. But again, just to repeat, this is just for a best scenario for return on investment, in my opinion. The reason why I'm making this video, I get asked, a few times on Twitter, but most of the time during when I'm streaming on Twitch. Feel free to follow me on Twitch as well. By a lot of people that are in a limited kind of market at the moment, they've built, 2 or 3 limited teams, or they've got 1 or 2 elite limited teams, and ask me, when do I move to rare? What are the return on investments? Is it better for me to, go into the rare market now and get rid of limiteds? Now, just before we kind of delve into it, if you are playing Sorare for fun, again, I'll go through some pros and cons on this video. If you are just playing Sorare for fun and you don't care, you want to put a few quid in, I'm putting in 0.42 ETH, which is just over £500, I believe, at this moment in time. Just play how you're playing now. You're enjoying it for fun. You're in the limited market. Continue to do that. I'm going to say it one more time. This is solely for return on investment. So this is a elite limited team, in my opinion. Again, if you are brand new to Sorare and have no idea what limiteds are, what rares are, feel free to check out my What is Sorare video in a link in the description. If you are new, feel free to sign up using my link. When you buy 5 cards from auction, you'll receive 1 free limited card. So this is what I kind of have as an elite team. I've gone for just a Premier League team just because it makes sense on the reward pool here towards the bottom of the tab. So as you can see, I've gone for Alisson, Trent, Fernandez, Salah and Rodri from Man City. So this team here will cost me 0.42 ETH. I did mention about over £500 just in my intro. It is a little bit more than that, 545 at this moment in time in recording. So that's the kind of limited team I'm kind of basing this video off. I'll kind of talk through these rewards later in the video as well on a spreadsheet. And what I've also done is built 2 rare cap 240 teams. Now I appreciate, at this moment in time, I believe both are over the cap. That one by 13 points and this one by 1 point. It was very difficult. It is difficult to find 5 players that were under the cap all season. I mean, someone can do that. Let me know in the comment section below. So I've gone for a Turkish team here in the rare. So if you are starting out in the rares, I would recommend sticking to 1 or 2 leagues. Again, check out my video on starting with 1 ETH as well. I'll leave a link just above me, moment in time. But this video is more to kind of how to transition from limited into rare, and is it worth it in terms of return on investment. So again, it's quite difficult to do the threshold just because some of the players will be under cap at this moment in time. You'll see here, all these players were over, I think, 245 there. So the 5 over the cap. So what I've done for this, I've built a European team and an American team. Now you can see the budget is a lot lower than these here. But keep in mind, when you are building cap 240 rare teams, or even limiteds, you do need more than 5 players. So I left, a lot of leeway here to go out and buy, 5 or 6 more rare cards if you wanted to, just so if these 5 players did go over the cap, you have some reserves to kind of put in there as well. So the reason why I've done 2 is because, as you can see at the bottom here as well, they don't always play together. Again, I'll come through these rewards in a moment in time too. Back to my famous spreadsheet, and the reason why I'm so big here is because I'm covering up the rares. So I will explain this the best I can. So the limited team just up there is a recent averages. So they played 21 times together. They've won 2 tier 0s, 1 tier 1 and then 3 tier 2s. Now please keep in mind, this is an all-star. You might get better or worse returns in champ or cap 270, for example, if they do fit in cap 270, but I've just done all-star for this one, picking these players, and as you can see, the rewards are there with the average price of the rewards right now. So again, if you were to sell them at that moment in time, it could have been a bit more or a bit less, but I've done everything, including players' prices, the ETH rewards on the cap 240 in a moment on the rare team, and these players here right at this moment in time to keep it as fair as possible. So as you can see, just a small there, 0.1465 returns between now and the start of the year. This team, again, XP could be a little bit different. These are all 5% and have captain Bruno Fernandes. So you might pick different captains. So you might be one or two, up positions up or down. So you might get a lot better rewards. There's a lot of luck involved in this as well, because you could get a really good reward one week, or you might get a goalkeeper or backup goalkeeper that's been playing for a few weeks that's now been dropped. So keep that in mind as well, guys. But you're looking at 0.1465. Comparing that to the kind of 0.42 you pay today. Again, this is just in hindsight, obviously moving forward, and a rough estimate from the history. Maybe over for just under 3 years for that return on investment to get back to that team. And again, I'll mention it one more time. All it takes is 1 week where all these pop off. Some weeks where they were very unlucky, where I think Fernandes or Salah, didn't score too well. A lot of time where Alisson didn't keep a clean sheet, which obviously affected Trent as well. But there's also some weeks where they did very well and got very lucky. In some cases, where having a penalty in the last minute, I think for Salah or Fernandes, a check through as well. So it's all about luck. Not all about luck, but a lot about luck is when you're playing Sorare. This is just a very estimate rewards for them limited cards. So moving on to the Cap 240 rare teams. As you can see just above my head, games where played together. So this is kind of both combined, if that makes sense, is 17 times. So it is 4 less than the Premier League limited team. However, with these being elite players, you expect them to play in the Champions League or have a few more midweek games as well. So I thought that was quite reasonable. Then threshold, put an estimate there is 7. I'll kind of describe that a bit more detail as well. So it's kind of, once in every 2 to 3 games you win the threshold, which I think is quite reasonable in all honesty. So I'll explain how I've done that. Again, it's quite difficult to do on Sorare data at the moment in time. So the reason that I've picked these two teams, these two players, is Russell and Sergio Oliveira. Is because they're quite expensive in terms of the last 15 caps usually. I think the best 2 players on the teams that can be replaced if they went over the threshold. So just for example, I'll show you how I've kind of chosen this. These lamps here where they hit the threshold, that's absolutely fine. Obviously they're quite over here as well, so I haven't included that one, of course, because that one is just ridiculous. The ones I have included is that there's this one, for example, where Oliveira here has got 11 score and it's over capped by 7 kind of points, so 7 out of 15. And I think other managers and myself could go out and find a midfielder with 7 less cap points than Sergio Oliveira and can beat an 11 score. I'd be very shocked if not. So I've included some players like that. And I've done the same with Russell on this side. Again, ways, this threshold here, for example. I think I've kept this one in. Again, I can't remember which ones I did now. But I'm looking at Russell's score. So, for example, there where he's got a really good score. Well, mind you, that's at the threshold anyway. But there's been some times where I've left Russell out, or left a threshold out, if Russell or Sergio Oliveira, have got a really good score and I can't replace him. Or, for example, lines like this, I've kept it in, if that makes sense. So it's 7 thresholds out of 17, which I mentioned before, it's 1 in every kind of 2 or 3 games. So looking at that, if I just move my head out of the way, you can see that $50 in terms of ETH today, that's the 2nd of September, is roughly 0.031. And hitting that 7 times, looking at getting returns of 0.217, which is obviously a little bit better than just above here, 0.146, again, over the same time period. Again, just keep in mind, this is an estimate sort of figure, as I keep mentioning as well. Now, there is pros and cons of this. So look at that, return on investment wise, Rare 240 is better, of course. There is, like I mentioned before, pros and cons of both. So looking at the limited side over here, as mentioned at the start, it's more enjoyable. The plays you obviously hopefully know, and the likes of Salah's, your Fernandes. There's less transfer risk, obviously Saudi and Salah at the moment, but apart from that, you should know that they are elite plays or keep at the top teams. There's more rewards, so if you like opening rewards on Sorare, there's more rewards and more chance of that happening. And more chance of hitting star players as well, hitting 2 tier 0s there in Leno and Vicario as well. He's gone Tottenham goalkeepers. There's more chance of hitting those, better rewards. Cons, less return on investment, of course, which again could change personally. There's more cards, and I think it means more people and more competition over time. So there's more supply in limiteds, meaning there's going to be more competition over the next 12, 24 months. And then one thing I put on here, it's hard to leave limited for rare. So a lot of people in my community and myself at the moment try and leave rares for super rares. It's difficult to kind of get out of that routine of building limited lineups and delving into rares. And I've done some pros and cons for rares as well. It's probably less enjoyable for rares. Transfer risk, obviously, very high, especially in MLS and also in Challenge Europe as well. They can just move and become terrible, or even sub players and unknown players as well, hard to follow, DMPs, etc. But the pros, as I mentioned, the main pro is return on investment. You're a step ahead of those people that have just started out in limited and don't want to make that step up as well. Then one good week, if you've got 2 rare teams, for example, in Cap 240 and All-Star, all it takes is that midweek maybe when MLS adjuster on, one good game week could you see yourself winning a tier 2 or a tier 1, which equals a rare goalkeeper, which can maybe fund that limited team over above here as well. So hope that's been insightful, guys. To be fair, they are quite similar in returns of return on investment. As I mentioned at the start of the video, if you are a sort of a player that does just enjoy Sorare from playing it and don't really care about the return on investment, stick to limited. And if I was starting today with that, I probably would play limited a little bit, have a few limited teams, and then try and build in rares. And the reason why I try and say get into rares as soon as possible is just because it's very difficult to kind of get out of limited and you're kind of stuck in that cycle. But it might be worth trying out, especially MLS as well, with prices so low in rares. That's kind of a bit of an experiment. Again, it's not 100% accurate, guys. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I've done a lot of research on this, so any kind of likes are much appreciated. But I've probably said it about 10 times during this video, so probably it's bugging a few people. But if you are playing Sorare and you are enjoying it, you are opening rewards and limited, keep doing what you're doing. I've seen a few people on Twitter in the last few days as well that have made the move to rares, aren't enjoying it because they aren't winning rewards every single game week. They haven't got the elite players, the risk of transfers. So there is kind of pros and cons on both kind of sides. So keep that in mind as well when making the step up. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, drop it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.